Hello guys, welcome back. So we are now in the tutorial for game development with Unity 3D. In the last lesson, in the previous lesson, we learned how to import an asset. We import an asset using the import function in Unity. We went to assets, yes, import new assets. And the texture that we have here. I imported texture. So now we are going to add some features, some elements to the texture. We will create the terrain. So let's go to File. Let's go to, not File, let's go to Create Object. We are going to create the terrain. Yes. So it's a 3D object. We have different objects for 3D. Now we need to create the floor where the main character is going to move. It's called terrain. So we have here created we have it here with the arrows. With the arrow button we can move the terrain along with the axis. So we have X, Y and Z axis and we can move the terrain how we want. So in the previous lesson I show you that we can move the terrain up and down using coordinates, for example, to transform the position. If I want the terrain under the level, for example, if I want to create a water terrain, so I can create a -10. You see here, -10. So the terrain will be under the character level. Or we can create a terrain also up the character level. Well, now we have the terrain. The idea is to add this texture here, right? When we create objects, we normally can drag and drop textures to the objects. But with terrain creation is different. We have to go to the main function of terrain texturing. Yeah. So we click on terrain script. We will click on this button. You see this brush, paint texture. Here we can choose different sizes of brushes. We have sizes of brushes to create the idea of texture, right? For example, if we want to create mountains or we want to create grass, it's very important that we know which brush we can use. For a desert texture, for an environment of desert, so we can choose, for example, this brush here, and we can click on Edit Textures, Add Texture. So you guess which texture will be added. Will be the texture sand number 1. Alright, so what we have to do is to open the window, add terrain texture, right? Click on select and it will show me are available in the assets folder, right? Because everything that I import, it's in the assets folder. So you can actually create new folders. For example, you can create a folder for textures, a folder for animations, a folder for scripts, a folder for new assets if you want to import assets from a different source. So you can create, for example, a folder for the new assets. So here I can show you in this window, you can choose how to create folder, a script, independent of the language you want to use, JavaScript, C# or other language. We can create prefab. I will explain what is a prefab later after we create the terrain, but just to a short explanation, a prefab is a ready-made uh, object that we can use in different projects or in different scenes. So we can create a project that is already custom designed with scripts, with textures, and this project can be transferred, can be moved, can be used in different projects. It's like a prefabricated object that can contain different scripts and different textures, so you can use it in different projects. Well, so here when you click on create, you can create a folder if you want to put all your textures in a folder. Normally I keep generally in the assets folder, because when I create the games I use different packages, so every package has their own folder, so it's better to keep the external textures in another place. If you want to create a folder you can, but I prefer to keep it in the assets folder, right? So we will click texture here, select, and sand. You see that the sand texture was added to the window add terrain texture. Then we click on add. Here we have normal map. A mapping texture is an element that you can add it to create a better quality for textures. Yes, for example, if you have a wooden floor and you want to create the idea of a well detailed texture, you can also add maps. Where you can find maps as well, in the asset store or on the internet. So for purpose of tutorial, and because the main texture here is sand, is like I don't need to now to add normal maps. When I create houses or when I create interiors, it's recommended to add normal maps. Alright, so let's click on add. You will see now how beautifully created is the terrain, the sand terrain. Alright, so now that we have the terrain, we can see how it looks in the game. Yes, here that I have the terrain, you see that there is not so much light on this scene. If I click on play, you will see that this terrain doesn't change. It keeps the same lighting. So in order to give a little bit more effect of lighting, we can add another element that is called light. So we can click here to stop debugging. Yeah. To explain the windows, scene window is where you create the 3D, where you can see the edition area, and the game window is a place where you can debug or play the game. Yes. Now I cannot play anything because I have to add the character, but first I want to create the environment, the terrain, the sky, maybe some houses or some mountains, maybe some trees. So first I will create the environment and then I will add. Okay, so we need to add lighting to the terrain. I was saying that we need to create first all the environment, the terrain, the sky, maybe some mountains, some houses, so the character can move in the environment. So we start first creating the terrain, then skyboxes, the effect of the sky, lighting. Okay, so let's go to game object, create a 3D object. No, sorry, create a light. And we have four types, four kinds of lighting. Directional light is an element that we can use to create the idea of direct illumination, that direct lighting to the terrain. Yes, so it can cover a broader area. Point light is normally created to give light to interiors, or to add it to add this light to the character or to the moving objects like AIs, artificial intelligence, enemies, or to coins, for example, if you want to make a game to collect coins. So the point light is especially created for objects and for interiors. Yes, so in order to give light to a area of terrain, it's better to use directional light. Spotlight is also created for the areas, but more for interiors, yes, and for objects, small objects. And the other light, it's especially created to give light to areas, but in order to create some kind of idea of a system where some places are with light and some places are without light. So in my experience, the easiest way to do it is to create a directional light, and you will see how it's done. Click on direct light, then you see here this this element is given light, for example, imitating the sunlight, yeah. And you can here change the color of the light. The light doesn't have to be white all the time. You can change different colors if you want to create an effect. For example, if you want to create a sunrise effect, if you want to create different kind of effect, you can change the color of lighting. For example, this looks like a red dark terrain, like a planet terrain. For example, if you make a game like going to Mars, or maybe a little bit darker structure, more realistic, so you can play with the colors of the light. It's very interesting. Also, if you want to use Unity to develop trailers, to develop animation movies, it's also very interesting how you can change the lights according to the scene, according to the moment of the scene. So yeah, now the intensity, of course, is not this intensity is used to this intensity of light is used to create an illuminated area, a lighting area. You see here when I click on game how it looks more detailed and more yellow, but maybe we need to change the intensity because it's too much, I believe. For example, if I put 3 intensity, you see here I can move this button here to the left to the intensity, or I can change here the number. But if there is so much light, so the texture actually don't get the idea of reality. So if you want to create a realistic, the lighting is important. So here's too dark. Let's put a little bit more. And now, yeah, I think this one is better. Yeah, this one is better. So we have created the sand terrain with lighting. In the next lesson, we will see how to create different objects and how to create the sky, how to create texture for the sky. See you next lesson.